Hi there. Now, a lot of Skool creators are absolutely crushing it. They get great results for great people. And yet the proof on their About page does not do as much heavy lifting as it could. This is because most successful Skool creators don't have a proof problem so much as a proof format problem. Visitors don't quite hit join group. And that's because something is still missing. I'm going to walk through the most common formats I see, from weakest to strongest, including one that can actively harm trust. But before we get into that, a quick word on why I see proof in this way. My background is in interviewing people and shaping real stories. Here are just a few of my bylines as a journalist in the UK. And over the last couple of years, I've applied that approach to Skool, working with creators who already have results and momentum in place. So the weakest format is what I think of as the favour testimonial. This is the one where someone who's been working with you for years jumps on camera to say nice things. The tone may be warm and supportive, but it feels polite rather than persuasive. Viewers don't think, I want that. They think,
well, of course you'd say that.
I would advise you to avoid this one. Now, before we talk about the next format up, I'd like you to imagine being told a story about a knight killing a dragon. The story begins and ends with the knight dealing the fatal blow. There's no sense of why it matters, the human cost of the knight reaching the cave, or how all that treasure is going to change his life for good. This tends to be the problem with this format, the self-shot testimonial recorded after the result. These are good because they come from genuine experience. Someone opens their phone and talks about what changed for them. So far, so good. The content is real, but the structure is loose. The story tends to begin after the decision to join the group rather than before it. And so the visitor gets to hear about the outcome, but the path that led to the dragon's cave feels harder to trace. The next format up are written testimonials. They do convey legitimacy. They also read quickly and they sit comfortably enough on the About page. On the downside, their emotional range is narrow. Important things like voice, timing, hesitancy and relief don't come across in text. And once again, of course, the story is all about the dead dragon. Next up, we have montage videos. These create a sense of movement. They suggest activity and scale. Many voices appear in a short span of time, which can once again make the visitor think this is legit, which is great. Beyond that though, the meaning gets scattered. The visitor does feel the energy, but they're left to piece together the story all by themselves. The next format up in our ranking are creator-led interviews. This format shows up when creators decide to interview their own members on camera. The intention is good, the effort is real, and the setup often looks very professional. Best of all, with this particular format, we do tend to hear more about the before, during, and after story. But the creator is there, asking the questions, and the member is responding in real time with the creator watching, and that changes how people speak. Praise becomes polite, and the more difficult, authentic moments get smoothed over. And even when the experience was genuinely transformative, the conversation tends to orbit the creator themselves rather than the member's own story. This can create a subtle barrier to entry because the proof feels supervised, and the story remains at quite a superficial level. And in practice, the whole thing can resemble a hostage situation. Finally, we come to the seventh and strongest proof format, which is a story built across several people. Multiple voices get combined into one narrative shape. The interviewees represent different starting points, and different authentic doubts come to the surface. And we learn so much more about how their change unfolded over time. The structure includes a clear beginning, a middle where something changes, and an outcome that feels lived with. So we get the chance to actually follow a human being's story. Finally, our visitor can recognize themselves. They can see themselves in this group. Now, this format that I call a proof story is built from individual interviews. Members are spoken to one by one, away from group dynamics and creator presence. Rather than being presented as separate testimonials, these stories are edited and woven together into one single narrative. When a proof story appears high on an About page, visitors spend less time trying to translate outcomes into their own situation. The visitor can picture themselves at the beginning of the story, not just at the end of it. The dragon finally has a backstory. If this way of thinking about proof feels useful to you, there's a link below through which you can get my help with applying proof stories to your own page along with other services. And now take a look around the screen and see if there's something you might like to carry on watching. Obviously, do remember to subscribe as well. Cheers!